Welcome, Motenta people. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to remember a great diva, a colorful lady with a classic voice. Her signature is Dusty Springfield. She had a flawless look, but an incredible personality that was shrouded in sexual repression and irrationality. Her tragic lifestyle, a case of a terrible rise to stardom and dramatic drop to poverty that would make a mess of that charming beehive hairstyle and panda eyes maquillage. Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Motenta's channel. Dusty Springfield, Personal Drive to Madness. When Dusty Springfield appeared on stage, she was practically a sight and a sound to behold. I am one of those who thought she was among the finest female singers of British extraction, though her immaculate look is highly contradictory to her intricate nature as one who lived mostly in misery, deep-seated self-doubt, and severe substance abuse. Dusty was a rare talent. Her historic success remained, regardless of the semantics that tended to reverse her evocative and soulful music. Apart from her philosophy as an inspirational image for the contemporary R&B generation of music artists, her aggressive cleverness against injustice is still fresh in the mind. While in an open conflict with a narrow-minded music industry at the time, this European singing sensation was also fighting her inner demon. From haunted sexuality to undetected bipolar disorder, Dusty may have suffered mind-boggling times that even left her desperate and almost impoverished. The unforgettable trace of Dusty as a music entertainment pundit is that of her status as an icon of the swinging 60s, a 1969 album Dusty in Memphis, which had that evergreen adaptation of Son of a Preacher Man and many widely accepted tunes that are branded as a pop R&B stunning success. Critics described as a tragedy the fact that Springfield's life was wrecked by her bisexual orientation, the reason for her silence and secrecy that metamorphosed into a life of self-hatred. Some say a look of her jawline should have exposed her easily, only that her era was different. A homosexual in the 1960s was seen as a disgraceful affliction, just like a mental illness. Sometime in the 1980s, Dusty's name popped up again in the entertainment scene after about 2 decades of being absent from the spotlight. What exactly did she do? Springfield created a complex pop traditional song that was perfected by her glamorous personality. While she courageously talked about her bisexual nature in a 1970 report, her life was a total mess as she struggled to merge an acceptable public image with a private romantic life that was flawed by her affairs with many women. Remarkable was one with actress Ted Bracci that turned violent at some point. Dusty, during her career difficulty, was described by a record label as a nightmare when the Pet Shop Boys indicated an interest in working with her. Her name is Mary Isabel Catherine Bernadette O'Brien, born in 1939, somewhere in West Hampstead, to Gerard O'Brien and Catherine O'Brien of Irish descent. Learning at only female St. Anne's Convent School, Northfields, Dusty was seen as a very vibrant teenager. Loved sports, especially football, that she often played with boys in the street, which earned her the nickname Dusty. She also lived a tomboyish life at the time. Growing up under a father who loved music, she had an early inspiration, and so after school, she linked up with the cultural music clubs and sang in holiday camps. Though while in school, Dusty did her first blues show then as Mary O'Brien, but at 16, she discarded the name when she became highly interested in music. She didn't hesitate to show up for the Lana Sisters stage show request after hearing about it, acquiring the stage name Sean and making physical changes like cutting her hair and her glasses and doing face painting, all so she could blend in with the sisters. She shocked those who knew her when she was seen with a fashionable blonde that year. It seemed she was getting ready for this epic musical career as a young performer, putting behind her childhood experience with dissenting parents that was stuck in a loveless marriage. Dusty once recalled her father's brutality. He was too rigid for her, liking as he often hit her with reckless abandon at the slightest mistake. Her mother was not better either, because she found favor in an alcoholic life, all of which made this great talent conclude that she had an unfortunate upbringing. She also defied the prophecy because some of her Catholic religious teachers had foretold that Dusty was destined to be a librarian. In 1960, Mary, her brother Dion, and a friend, Tim Field, would become the musical trio that invented the name the Springfields. The fresh team made optimistic sounds, and soon, to suit her heavily darkened eyes, colorful gowns, and platinum blonde beehive, Mary dropped her peripheral backgrounds and took a trendy identity for herself as Dusty Springfield. In 1962, the Springfields were on tour to the United States. It was at this time that Springfield tried her luck at pop songs, having been motivated by girl groups like the Ronettes and the Crystals. "I was deeply swayed by black singers," she had said in the early 1960s, because their energetic song was different from what was being listened to on English radio, and so she wanted to be a pioneer back home. Expectedly, she went solo with her debut album, A Girl Called Dusty, marking the beginning of a thrilling British pop extract. And not too long, her talent turned the chart in her favor as one of the best female vocalists ever in British pop. Her success soon spread across the continent as she became a principal player in America, alongside black female megastars of the era. I so much love this lady regardless of those shortcomings that defined her personal life. I did agree with a writer who said that the nightmare attribute may just be the sexiest and reductive assessment of Springfield's personality. It's more than 2 decades since she transcended to higher glory after her musical missionary work on Earth, but her version of popular pop culture remained as fascinating as her fabulous personality. A lot of us believe that after she left the Springfields, Dusty quickly transformed into a global brand and grew for herself an ultra-glamorous image that added flavor to the sophisticated pop ballads that she was rendering. Interestingly, she was not even into songwriting, but her dazzling interpretation of pop and soul melodies was amazing. If what the author of Breaking Down the Walls of Heartache, How Music Came Out, Martin Aston, said is anything to go by, Dusty is no doubt among the finest voices in the history of British soloists within her era. I also heard that an objective assessment of Springfield's 1970 B-side Spooky by British singer-songwriter Cara Marney, after sampling opinions about her single Curve, described her voice as cream on velvet and showers encomium on her subtle way of expression. In his words, she sang the words and not just the notes, the reason she is everyone's favorite. Critics say that it must be a lot of guts for her to boldly open up in what everyone now knows as Springfield's shocking revelation of her sexuality. But more thrilling is the way she had begun the confession. "I'd hate to be thought of as a big butch lady." That was a brilliant opening that is typical of her personality. She made an amazing chart comeback, the type she began years ago when she buzzed on What Have I Done to Deserve This?, a misleading, playful electro-pop song about a dubious love story. Pet Shop Boys' Neil Tennant hinted that it moved up to number 2 in the U.S. and the United Kingdom, as it turned Springfield's first main hit after Son of a Preacher Man 20 years back. Before this time, almost everyone forgot about this song guru. Recall that she had extraordinary 6 failed albums because they didn't sell or had any hit singles. Her music touched rock bottom when Dusty worked with Peter Stringfellow in 1985, with just a single that settled at 85 on the chart. It made her feel so bad that she described working with Stringfellow as among the incidents that discouraged her in the industry. "I nearly gave up for good," was her declaration. About a month after, something unbelievable hit her image, as she was acknowledged as a psychiatric patient at Bellevue Psychiatric Hospital in New York and taken into custody after she put a call to paramedics stating that she'd unintentionally cut herself, an incident that opened a fresh chapter in her life. The scandal that followed forced Vicky Wickman, Springfield's manager, to tell the world she thinks she was hysterical, depressive, and highly addictive. The combination of this and what an analyst said was absolutely lethal to her image and health. So it was an amazing scenario in 1987 when the Pet Shop Boys, Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe, gave a kiss of life to her career 2 years after that incident with that hit single. Nevertheless, critics think that it was rather unfortunate that the Pet Shop Boys did not quite believe in her ability, as such did not produce any complete album with her. Though fingers also pointed at Springfield's conscientious way of recording, occasioned by her innate irritating self-doubts. They didn't just doubt her ability, as they described having an album with Dusty as the type that could give one a nervous breakdown. Those who associated with Dusty at the initial stage of her career had spoken about her age-long strange habit that was hitherto seen as fun, even though most of it could not have been just fun. It was described has a terrific sense of hilarity, including food fighting and hurling cutlery downstairs. The moment her alcoholic and drug-dependent life gathered momentum, everyone knew that it was time for Springfield to turn a new leaf or sacrifice her career, as she was seen frequenting the clinic after experiencing several hospitalizations as a result of self-inflicted injuries that would later be confirmed as a bipolar disorder. The Dusty I know is that spirited lady who spent much of her time in the U.S., playing in the southern woods and gallivanting with a bass player that was said to have taught Elvis karate. From the moment Dusty achieved personal stardom with her music, specifically in 1966, she occupied the history book as the highest artist with the best hit songs. I think she didn't get her fame by chance, not when she was reported to have regularly strived for both physical and career perfection. If you have ever heard that Dusty would always report to studio appointments 3 hours behind schedule, it is because she needed the hours to perfectly style her face and makeup. Just as Dusty did not joke about her music business, always wanting to be better, she reflected the same in her personal life, only that her personality had a lot of negatives. As such, trying to find perfection in her personal life only brought her more closely to insanity, which was an unfortunate development. Those around her, especially her lovers, didn't understand the infighting demon in Dusty while she was doing certain things. Sue Cameron, who was her romantic partner, said watching Dusty smash boxes of crockery on the wall was a serious sign that would make anyone express doubt about her sanity. "That's when I realized how odd it all was," she explained. Cameron said that she would dangle bags of flour over the band and knock bowls on her head. It was not the type that will amuse an onlooker, not when she started decorating her own house with lavatory paper and tossed food across the table in eateries. I also don't see it as fun, but as a kind of madness. But if you were among those who thought otherwise concerning these actions, Dusty had more surprises as it reached the level of hurling her furniture into the swimming pool. And you think you can hold Dusty down as a man and possibly take her in and calm the nerve, but she says, "Hey man, you haven't seen anything yet," because she would start a dangerous fight with you, as she did with Buddy Rich, and bashed off his wig. It was such a pity that Dusty eventually found herself in a secured reformatory home, trying to recuperate from a catatonic nervous breakdown. Only if she had known that the red bottles with their deceptive alcoholic content would not be as useful as she had thought. The prescription drugs, with their momentary relief, didn't help either, only led to further complications. Dusty was drenched in heavy drinking and related intoxication, yet her issue was more of an emotional and unusual sexual drive with fellow women. Being a lifetime bachelor girl, as used to describe her romantic life, Dusty had to make her money and look after herself because she remained unmarried and had no one to depend on. Pathetically, this unique talent needed emotional security, but never really had one, at least so it seemed. With all the going on in her life, it was obvious that she would be hurt career-wise, as she was discarded from the talk of the town, her position taken by Bruce Forsyth. What a loss of an opportunity, as she could not do the theme song for a Bond movie when she was billed, and Carly Simon was contracted instead. Sometime in that unfortunate 1985, Dusty's financial income became just the $500 a night performing her old hits in West Hollywood homosexual bars. Did I hear you say she was battered and bruised after being involved in a deadly lesbian brawl that left her with bashed front teeth? It was when her friendship with Ted Abraci went sour. After meeting in 1982, cohabitating illegally, and marrying 7 months after, the two had a stormy romance that soon led to the disaster. Too terrific for Dusty Springfield, and your guess is as good as mine, because that incident took her back to the hospital for another round of treatment. The duo inevitably went their way after 2 years of unconventional romantic life. Springfield is among those who were affectionate about animals, especially cats, the reason she was also an animal protection advocate. Another peculiar characteristic that cemented the positive side of her turbulent life is studying charts as a hobby, though she did so often to find her way around town. After her death, no one could have described the heartbreaking life of Dusty Springfield better than her partner, Norma Tanega, who revealed that Dusty, in her loneliness, longed to be straight and wanted to be a good Catholic faithful. She also preferred to be a black lady, and maybe in her next world, she would. Celebrities are often poorly perceived by the public. Is this the case with Peter Lorre? Was Peter Lorre born to be sinister? Watch this video.